Hello, you. It's me. And I just thought it might be fun to go over some of the milestones that are there for a 7-month-old baby, which Aurora the baby should start to be hitting since she's going to be, 7 months old very soon? On the 28th, I guess. So, let's go over some of them. Physical development. At 7 months, babies often roll over both ways and work on their sitting skills. Now, when I read that, all I could think of is, yes, of course, we're not allowed to see Aurora's face. But they're always holding her. They're talking about tummy time and all these different things that they put their kid into in order for their kid to learn. But have you ever heard anyone speak about her rolling over, her crawling around, which is also possible around 7 months? I mean, I'll be straightforward with you. My child at 9 months ran across the room all by themselves and then didn't actually start walking regularly until they were a year old. But I knew they could do it. They just didn't feel like doing it until later. And babies are unpredictable like that. We already know that. And I don't want anyone to think that this is to pick on baby Aurora, because it's not. What it is a worry. It's a worry, is baby Aurora hitting those milestones? And if she's not, why isn't she? Because you'd think Gypsy would be bragging about all these things. Oh, she rolled over by herself. Oh, she's starting to scoot along. Oh, she's starting to get up and crawl. Oh, she can sit up by herself. But when we see baby Aurora in the arms of either Gypsy or Ken, do you see that baby? The movements of the baby doesn't look like the baby can do much of anything. And I am not knocking down little baby Aurora. Some people develop at different times, and that's okay too. Some people have developmental delays, and that's okay too. But Gypsy has been very clear to say that baby Aurora is in perfect health. So why isn't she talking about these things? Here that it's also, now I understand if she doesn't want baby Aurora to be in the public light except for as a prop on her hip. We're not going to see a lot of the other things that are described here. So I'm just going to move on, and we'll look at some other things too. There's cognitive development, where babies start to realize the people that are around them, and they give facial expressions, gestures, and vocal sounds. Now, vocal sounds is the one that I really wanted to focus on, because we've heard baby Aurora crying, and she does not sound like a 7-month-old baby or a 6-month-old baby. The noises that she makes, it's disturbing. And again, I'm not saying anything against baby Aurora. She is a sweet, innocent little baby child, for real, not play acting. But at that age, they should be babbling. It says right here in language and communication, babies at this age typically babble and make various sounds, or a variety of sounds, including laughter, blowing bubbles, and babbling. chains of consonants like ma 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 ma, pa 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 pa, da 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 da. They make noises like that. The only thing I've heard from baby Aurora are weird, I can't even describe. They're like a super high pitch whining noise and crying. I never hear baby Aurora ever making any babble noises. And I find this distressing because if she's not hitting these milestones, why isn't she? If she's a normal, healthy little baby girl. And more than myself, I've heard other people point out the fact that baby Aurora always looks like she's the same size. She hasn't looked like she's really grown much. Now, she does look like she's grown from the newborn baby pictures that were there, where she's all wrapped up. But since about 3 months or so, in all the pictures that they show her, she looks the same size. That is upsetting. I don't know. It makes me worry more. And now, I can understand as well that maybe Gypsy and Ken don't want to talk about the fact that maybe their child has some disabilities or has something about her that maybe isn't as healthy. I can understand not wanting to publicize that. But at some point, people notice and people question, and it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't share that. Now, she said, without argument, with absolutely with her whole chest, as they say, that Aurora the baby does not have the microdeletion disorder that Gypsy has. And I'm glad to hear that. But once again, the baby hasn't grown. The baby has strange noises. Some of them sound like breathing issues. Now again, can't confirm that. I can only go by what I've heard that Gypsy has put out. But she doesn't sound right somehow. And I am concerned for this baby because she doesn't seem to be hitting any milestones. She's not babbling. Gypsy hasn't mentioned anything about her flipping over or scooting around. I thought the whole point of her channel was a family channel. And I thought because it's a family channel, she would discuss things like milestones of her child. You know, so far she's just been a prop that's gone to this thing or that thing. And look, and I'm not against taking a child to like museums or petting zoos or whatever. I'm not against that either. That's fine. But she doesn't seem to move or act like a baby who is nearly 7 months old. And they keep portraying this. Why aren't you talking about the milestones of the baby? I mean, I know Gypsy's a selfish fuck, but isn't she all about perception, how people see her? So why isn't she talking about these things? And here, at 7 months old, a lot of babies start teething. Has baby Aurora started teething? Because, you know, when babies are teething, they're extremely grumpy. They cry a lot, they whine a lot, because it hurts. And you got to get something to rub on their little gums to help numb it. Now, when I was a young mother, I was told not to use things like Oragel and, baby Oragel and things like that. I was told peppermint schnapps. So the very first alcohol I ever bought was peppermint schnapps. And I was told it's good for a baby because they like the taste of it, so they're not going to fight you if you're rubbing it on their gums, that sort of thing. And I used it a total of one time, I think. And I just put a little tiny bit on my finger, rubbed it on her gums. That was it. Now, would I suggest people doing that now? Probably not. But I was desperate. I didn't know what to do, and I took the advice of an adult that maybe I shouldn't have. But it helped, I think. I don't know. She calmed down. She seemed happy, and she was able to go to sleep, so that was good. But I think the best teething device I ever used for my child was Eggo waffles, because it's a food, the baby can chew on it, and as one of my friends pointed out, the little squares are great for like sucking up all the drool. It's like a immediate drool taker, so they could just chew on that thing forever. And that's what I used for my child's teething, just frozen Eggo waffles. And they would chew on it and chew on it. The drool would get into little squares. They'd make a total mess of that thing. But then I could just throw that out and give them another one. It was really handy. I'm sure they've got a lot better things these days, but sometimes just something simple does the trick. And Eggo waffles worked really well. But having said that, my little tidbit on on parenting, how come Gypsy hasn't talked about any of this stuff? She's selling baby stuff that her baby could still use. Aurora, the baby, could still use all that stuff that she's selling. Maybe she had too much or she had too many things or whatever. I can understand that. But then why would you sell it? Why wouldn't you just donate it? Everything that I had, I donated, thinking, well, some other new parent, maybe they don't have a lot of money, it would be helpful. In fact, for the first 2 years or so of my child's life, I would go every month to this thrift store that had massive amounts of children's clothing. And the thing is, especially when they're young, they grow really fast. So you might buy an outfit for them that'll last them maybe 2 weeks and they've already outgrown it. Babies grow quick. So what I would do is I would gather a bunch of my child's baby clothes. I would bring it to the thrift store and I would trade it in for clothes that were bigger. Now, I didn't get full trade. I still had to pay a few dollars here and there. But it just made sense to me because all the baby clothes I picked out for my child, they were new anyway. They were practically new. Like I said, maybe worn once or twice. So I would get my child all sorts of nice clothing. And then the following month, I would go back, donate the clothing, and then go get some new clothing. Now, did I keep a few little items that I just thought she was completely adorable in? Yes, absolutely. I still have some of my child's baby clothes, folded up and locked away. A memory for myself as much as for my child. And if my child has a child, which, they could, then I have a few things to give them that was theirs. And I think they would probably appreciate that. So, these are things that I did. Wasn't wealthy, but I figured out ways of working things out, and it worked out really well. For, like I said, for like the first couple years at least. Gypsy hasn't talked about anything like that. Hasn't talked about, oh my goodness, I just got Aurora the baby a dress, and she's already outgrown it. Outgrown it. You know what I mean. Outgrown it. She hasn't said anything about that. How fast babies grow. What it's like when they have baby food for the first time. This child at 7 months should be eating baby food by now, or at least trying it out. Maybe some blend. For my child, I used to get fresh fruits and blend them and then feed them to my child. And that way I knew it was fresh. I didn't have to worry about somebody tampering with the baby, the little baby food bottles or anything. So I did get my child baby food as well, but I didn't mind taking a piece of chicken, taking some freshly cooked broccoli, of course no seasoning, and blending it, and then feeding my child that. I thought, fresh food would be the best food. But I did both. I blended the food for my child, and I also bought baby food for my child. And I did that, I think I started at around 5 months, 6 months, but baby Aurora is now 7 months old. My concern is, Gypsy's not talking about it. Is she doing it? Because a baby at that age is not going to be able to survive on just formula. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. And maybe because Aurora the baby was born prematurely, maybe Aurora still has to develop more before they feed her baby foods. But Gypsy's not saying anything about it. Gypsy and Ken seem to be far more focused on what people are saying about them, not about the baby. They started a channel that's about family life, but they're not putting anything about family life on the channel. Family life isn't just going to a museum or going and getting drunk. Although I don't think that was on the channel. I think that was on their TikTok or I think it was TikTok. But they're not doing anything. Like I said, it's more than going to a museum, more than going to a petting zoo. Family life is just that. Celebrating the milestones, celebrating the baby's first taste of banana. I don't know. I don't see them doing any of the things that parents do to celebrate their child and their child growing and changing and becoming, for lack of a better term, becoming more of a real person. If you know what I mean. The babies, when they're first born, they're helpless and they can't do anything. But, I mean, I remember how great it was when my child burped for the first time, or smiled at me, or said mama, or rolled over, or crawled, or like I said, at 9 months running across the room and then not walking again until they were like a year old. Those are all fun, exciting stories for any mother or father to tell. I see on the reels and all where they show a cute little baby and the mother's like, say mama, say mama, and the baby says mama, and then she squeals with delight, or say papa, and or dada, dada, and the baby says dada, and the father's like, yes, that's my baby. All those little excitement, they're so exciting to feel, especially for the first time. Where is that? I put up these little things because these are the milestones that children should hit when they're about 7 months old. And again, I can understand if there might be some delays because baby Aurora was born early. Okay, up to a month early, although being at, I think it was 6 pounds, 5 ounces or something like that. I mean, when I was born right on time at 6 pounds, 9 ounces. So she couldn't have been born that much earlier. They're that much early than what her due date was. So I can understand there might be some delays because I think sometimes with babies that are born prematurely, that can happen. Although I will say with my child, they were born 2 weeks early, so not real early, but 2 weeks early, and they were fine. They were 7 pounds, 10 ounces. That's a full baby. In fact, I remember looking at my child after giving birth going, oh my God, did I just give birth to her? Wow, big baby. And it seemed like a big baby to me. But I was happy because my child was healthy and did all the things you're supposed to do. So these are the reasons why I feel so concerned for baby Aurora. If she's hitting these milestones, that's great. But I would think that Gypsy would want to brag about that. And she's not. And I don't know, it concerns me. Because as a mommy blogger that she so wants to be, although who knows, she keeps reinventing herself every other month to be something different because people are catching her on her lies. But what is happening with baby Aurora? Is anyone else concerned? And I'm not just talking about what kind of addictions Ken and Gypsy could have, because that's definitely concerning. But why aren't they talking about the milestones? Why aren't they don't even have to show baby Aurora. I don't have to show you my child at that age. I can just tell you the stories about it because sometimes they're cute, sometimes they're funny, or I'm just so proud, of what they've accomplished. And we don't see any of that from Ken or Gypsy. None of that. You don't have to show Aurora the baby to be proud of her accomplishments. You can just talk about her accomplishments. Oh my God, she did this today. Oh my God, she did that today. It was so cool. Or Ken made a stupid joke and Aurora laughed. Anything like that. Any little morsels just to show that you're actually parents of a child and that you're proud. Because taking pictures where we don't see Aurora's face, fine. You go ahead and do that. But that's not being a parent. Taking a baby to go see the Easter Bunny, that's cute. And I could see where that might have some cute memories and cute pictures. But what about the day-to-day stuff? Where is the excitement in that? This is why, even now, today, I still question, is this baby legit? Is this baby real? Are they not just borrowing a baby from someone else? Someone suggested a cousin, whatever. It doesn't even matter. It's just where's the parenting? Where's the excitement and the enthusiasm for all these different things that babies should be hitting by this age? Where is that? And why hasn't she really shown any physical growth? She looks like the same baby from months ago. There's no growing. There's no development. I have a neighbor who has a child that is at the exact same age. And I've seen that sweet little baby grow and mature, start moving around, giggling, smiling, waving hello. Adorable little baby. None of that is being discussed by Ken and Gypsy. Now, should they have to? No, not saying they should have to, but I would think as new parents, they'd want to share some of that. Gypsy's all about sharing and trying to prove and look like she's a great parent. What has she done? The only thing we really have been seeing is her getting out and going and getting drunk. Yay, I guess. But you could do that and not be a parent. So what are you doing as parents? Aren't you proud of your child? Aren't you proud of the accomplishments of your child? Or you could talk about, oh, well, she's had some delays because she was born early. We've had some delays, but she's starting to catch up, She's, our little boopy nose. That's a cute little nickname. Not, what did they say? Something but, I don't know. It sounded gross. But anyway, they don't talk about anything. It's as if Aurora was just a baby doll that they play with for a while and then push to the side, give to somebody else to take care of. And that's the most concerning part. They flip Aurora around like she's a baby doll. They don't put her in a seat properly. They don't seem to really take care of her properly. Again, I can't say that as a fact, but we've seen as a fact that she has been buckled into that baby seat at least a few times incorrectly. It looked wrong. So we know that much. But yeah, I'm just confused. Because, if the internet was around when my child was tiny, well, I would never put my child on the internet for public. But, oh my God, would I have tons of, I do have tons of pictures and some videos, every family member who cared to see it would see it. And if I had a YouTube channel at that time, I would be so excited about sharing all the things that my child did. I just don't see that. And it just makes me question all the more. Are they parents? Is that a child that they share together? It's all very questionable. Certainly Gypsy's pregnancy was extremely questionable. The baby I find questionable too. Because I just can't fathom a parent not wanting to brag about their kid. Unless they're just really bad parents. And I don't want to accuse anybody of anything incorrectly. Again, I can only go by what we've seen. And it doesn't look good. It really is bothersome. I can only hope maybe she'll hear this and then maybe start throwing out some stories. Unfortunately, they probably will be all made up because most of what comes out of Gypsy's mouth is lies. And I believe the same of Ken. And I believe the same of Christy. And I believe the same of Rod. And I believe the same of Raina, most likely. Anybody in that family. Either family. I mean, I don't know. It's bothersome to me how, all these milestones should start being met. And we haven't heard of a one. Anyway, thank you for listening. Tell me if you find that concerning. I sure do. And that's all I got to say.